What is going on, Casually FC? Welcome to another Casually FC Reacts. It's been a while since we've done one of these. I'm accompanied here with Oliver, and I myself am Marshall DBDX, your host. We might have some other people to hop in later on in the video or in the stream, but today I've decided that amidst all the things that are going on in the club and all the, Potter out comments and such, to my surprise, Younes has actually had a few choice words to say about the current situation of the club. We're going to react to it. We're going to give our honest responses. And just to clarify, I have seen this video already, but there are a few things that I want to pick at along with this video. And I think, Oliver, I think you've seen it as well. And maybe some of you guys have not seen it. But there's a few takes on this, and to give context as well, this is a video that was recorded after the Chelsea loss to Man City in the FA Cup, the 4-0 defeat that we were served on a hot silver platter, and so Younes is not happy about it, and neither are any of us, obviously, but it's some of the things that he said that I found to be a little surprising coming from Younes. And just to put this out there, I'm not trying to come at Younes. I'm a big fan of Younes. He's been on the channel before. Great content creator.
Yeah, we all love Younes.
I think the majority of the fan base love Younes. We're not trying to come after him. We're not trying to come at him in bad faith, but there are some things that we disagree with and some things that we do agree with that we're going to be discussing in this video. Big up to everyone in chat. You guys already know, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. I think we're 5 subscribers away from the 1,500 mark. So if you want to help us get there by hitting that subscribe button, bell notifications so you don't miss any of our future streams or impromptu streams just like this. And yeah, check out the links below in the description. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about our thoughts or your thoughts as well, in accordance to what's being said on the video. And let's get right to it. Why not?
The big elephant in the room, right? Everything at this football club right now is wrong. Everything. Today's performance against Man City, we knew. I told you guys in the preview. I said it was going to finish 2-0. I thought we'd lose 2-0, right? We knew we were going to lose. That is the reality of the game. Anyone before that was going to come and say, no, I think we're going to win 2-1. I think we're going to win. We might nick a 1-0. You're living in cuckoo land. You're living in dreamland. You're trying to live a fantasy.
Not wrong.
Right? It's okay to be real. No. Even if the truth hurts, it's okay to be real. Because that's the only way you genuinely get better. I see people trying to what's the word here? What's the word I'm looking for? It's like people are trying to look like the wise guy to everyone, trying to portray themselves as the calm and wise 85-year-old that has seen it all. And you don't need to worry. I see far into the distance. No. Get rid. Here's the truth, right? Today, Man City, Chelsea, 4-0 loss. Man City 4, Chelsea 0. At half-time, it was 3-0. That first half performance in particular, but it carried on into the second half. The only reason why it didn't go on in terms of goals was because Man City came off the gears. Man City came off the accelerator. They decided to go into second gear and just start waiting for opportunities to show up, playing like they were in a training session. If they went full in, just like they did in the first half, it probably would have been another 6-0 loss. I remember the first one. I was there.
Remind me. Did we lose to Man City 6-0?
Yes, we lost to them. We lost to them 6-0 in, I think, early 2019 under Maurizio Sarri.
Oh yeah, that I was.
It was just Aguero dunking on us and Sterling and just the typical Manchester City cohort. They were brilliant that day, but I think we played them not too long after in the Carabao Cup final, and we actually had a pretty good game against them. So, I mean, typical Chelsea, innit? Inconsistency.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the story of Chelsea for the past 3-4 years now, pretty much. Yeah, you're spot on, man. But I mean, so far, I don't think he's saying anything out of order. I'm pretty sure I agree with everything he's saying. Any fan that thought that we were going to go into this game getting a win, a victory, I mean, I'm not going to say it's delusional, but it definitely is over optimistic considering, the game in the league. We played them pretty decently. We did put up a fight, and it was unfortunate that we lost the way we did in that game. just one mistake by Kepa, or you could even argue mistake by Cucurella, or
Or
both.
both.
And we conceded the goal. Obviously, it was very unlucky. But I don't know. I agree with him so far. So we'll continue. Or not.
Today for Chelsea, for Chelsea Football Club, there was absolutely nothing. In the preview yesterday, I said, in terms of turning to some of the youth players, some of these young lads that are going to come on and give something, right? At least they're going to come on and give something. They're going to show something. Up until before we conceded that first goal, a couple of those young players, Lewis Hall being one, you could see something, right? That was it. That was absolutely it. But in terms of the group, in terms of the entire team, the dynamic, in terms of the way we were set up, in terms of everything, there was nothing. We asked for mentality, we didn't get any. We asked for physicality, we didn't get any. We asked for players being alert and concentrating, we didn't get any. We asked for players being in good positions, moving for each other, we didn't get any. Everyone was ball watching, everyone was static. We asked for a plan, something in terms of a plan, we didn't get any. We asked for a tactic that we can stick with. Players that played well against City in the last game to play today, they didn't. We asked for something. So something. We didn't get any. And I'm talking.
So, I mean, I don't know about you, Oliver, but it seems to me that Younes was pretty adamant, or he seems pretty adamant that he wanted to win this game and continue on in this competition. And I don't disagree with him there necessarily. I've been of the mindset that if anything, I want to win as much as possible. I don't care if it's easier for us next season when we don't have or the rest of the season when we don't have an FA Cup to compete in, or Europe to compete in. But the other reason too is that I feel like a lot of people have been very impatient with Potter. And one of the things that would buy him time would be possibly winning an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup. Although I did discuss this with Andrew, and he brings up a really good point that there is the issue where if you were to win an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup, it could possibly paint over the cracks in the club, and maybe we'll be in this idea that, Potter made it work, we don't need to replace these players, which the reality is that that's kind of what the Champions League did to us, and now we're in the state that we are right now. So I don't know. Do you kind of see it that way, or are you kind of the mindset that you're happy that we're out of the FA Cup?
I totally agree about what Andrew said with the cup thing. You know, I don't want to praise these players on what I know they're good at. You know, I want to see development. I want to see improvement in the areas that we struggle in. And I think that's what Younes is getting at. I don't think he wanted, of course, we all want to win. Look at our record recently. We all want to win. But at the very least, look at the City game that we played in the Premier League, when Carney came on and changed the game and Zakaria was fantastic. We came out of the game feeling slightly positive, bar Kepa and Cucurella for whatever happened at the goal, not defending Mahrez properly. It's about leaving the game with a good feeling, even if you've lost, because unfortunately that's the state we're in this season. There's just nothing. There's nothing much more salvageable. So the fact that we didn't, we lost 4-0 and convincingly, and it was just horrendous. I can understand where Younes is coming from. I don't think it's about the result.
I also think that maybe Potter's in the same mindset. Listen, I need to have these players. I have so many players. You guys keep bringing it up in chat, and you're very, very, very right to bring it up. There's 10 players that are injured. I think 9 now that Mason's back, but 10 players that are injured in this club. And if that's the case, I could see why Potter is playing it safe by not overplaying, even though I don't think it would be overplaying someone like a Chukwuemeka or a Zakaria, who in the last game, I think Zakaria in the league game, I think he played the whole 90 minutes, right? I believe.
But I can caveat that with this. Mount went straight back into the starting lineup after being out of the Premier League game.
Fair.
So again, these are some of the inconsistencies in the lineup choices that people get at Potter for, or if you want to put it more nicely, that they criticise him for. I've certainly been one to do that. I've tried to have my criticisms, but also be fair with it. That's certainly one I can resonate with.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I see the contradiction in Potter's tactics and based on what you said, but at the same time, I still see like maybe he's playing it safe with Chukwuemeka. Maybe he wants to be out of the FA Cup because there's less pressure on him. He wants to focus on the league. I don't know. There's a few ways you can take this, which is why I find it important to listen to. Like I know a lot of people have been criticizing Potter for his takes in the press conferences and stuff. Like I don't really care about what he says per se. I kind of want to know what his plan is. I want to know what his tactic is. I want to know where his decisions are coming from. I don't really care so much about how he portrays the team's confidence and their team's performance overall. Like at the end of the day, he's not going to come out and say what Tuchel did, which I would argue kind of started the really bad form that Tuchel went under with this team, where he went 7 games where he won out of 22.
You could argue that
he threw the players under the bus, and I think Potter sees that. Potter sees how disgruntled those players became as a result, and maybe he's trying to avoid that. He's trying to be buddy-buddy with everyone, and I don't think he's going to be overly critical,
Yeah, I can understand that.
Oh, I'm not going to, sit here and be like, oh, Potter says this and that, and oh, my God, oh, it doesn't instill any confidence in me. Like, at the end of the day, I just want to know what the tactics are. I want to know what your plan is. I don't care how you portray it. I don't care how you dictate it. I don't care about the personality you have in front of the press conference, or if you're going to call out a journalist like Frank Lampard. I don't care. At the end of the day, tell me what your plan is and tell me why I should trust in what you're doing, because right now I'm seeing your decisions you're making and I'm really, really questioning it a lot, and there's no answers.
It's not even about telling us the plan. It's about, we want to see it on the pitch. We want to see, when something isn't going well, we want to see a change made. And I think this is something that Younes does definitely touch on later in the video. The fact that, maybe his posture on the touchline isn't something that indicates to the players that something's going wrong here. And it's small messages like that with body posture and even some of the substitutions he makes. These players don't feel like they are doing much wrong. That could be a way of looking at things.
All right, let's continue the video then.
Cool.
And Chris, if you want to come on still, feel free to come on with me, man.
Talking about everybody here, the players and the manager. We got absolutely nothing. Instead, we got plummeted into 3-0 by halftime. And those goals, I mean, the first goal, fantastic free kick from Mahrez. I've seen that before. I used to celebrate that goal. Whenever he's in an Algeria shirt and he celebrates. He's in a Man City shirt, he does it against us. I'm gutted. But a beautiful free kick. And then from that point, as soon as we can see that first goal, even the players that were showing something, like I mentioned, the Lewis Hall, for example, right? You could even say, Bashir Humphreys, good lad. When I met him, was full of smiles, very polite, very professional, had loads of answers, loads of questions as well. You could say him. But from that, nothing else. As soon as we go 1-0 though, 1-0 down, everyone down tools. Everyone. And then you look to Potter to try and, hey, wake someone up. Can you get someone to do something? First half, as I said, was absolutely disgraceful. This performance today was, I think, one of the worst performances, and I'm not just saying this just for the line, one of the worst performances I think I've ever come across. Disgraceful. Because all we ask is for the bare minimum. I said yesterday, it's okay, it'll be okay to lose if we are to just go and show some sort of a game plan, some sort of a way of playing, some enthusiasm from some of the lads at least. It doesn't have to be all, because we know some of these players are rubbish, but some of the lads. We got nothing. Everyone gave up.
I have to push back on this one. Like, I get that it's one of the worst performances. Sure, you can argue that. But look at the lineup, Younes. Look at the injury list. Like, it's hard. We had to play Humphreys, because otherwise, Thiago Silva, he never gets any rest. Again, like, it's not the strongest lineup. I didn't like the lineup when it came out. I get that. But even with that lineup, I'm sure you can expect that it wasn't going to be a brilliant performance. It wasn't going to be the same performance we put up in the league. And mind you, Man City heavily rotated as well, but is it the worst performance we've ever seen under Chelsea? I would argue that there's worse performances against Arsenal, that defeat under Lampard, with against Man City. Those are some pretty bad defeats, and we had arguably our strongest team, and we were humiliated. Real Madrid, another one, our strongest team under Thomas Tuchel, we were humiliated at home. So is he being hyperbolic? Possibly. Is he being, I don't know. But is it the worst?
I think definitely from an offensive standpoint, it could be up there. I mean, 0.09 XG, one shot on target out of 3. You know, it's nowhere near good enough. And he mentioned briefly before this, he mentioned about just the basics. I think this squad could do so well with trying to just work on some of the basics instead of trying to pull off the spectacular. You know, a lot of these players are prone to doing that, and it just doesn't come off. You know, if I'm going to single out 4 players here: Jorginho, Kovacic, Mount, and Havertz. If they all had the basics down in that game, we would have been in a much better position to at least test their goalkeeper. But it didn't come to be because the basics weren't there. There's a lack of application because we know these players can do something. They're not bad players. We've seen them do this in the past. You know, whatever you want to say about any 4 of them, you know, we know they're definitely able to do it, but the lack of application just kills us every week, every day, every game.
Yeah, and I mean, this is an indicator. Everyone played terrible.
Gallagher had more touches than Kovacic.
Curtis here saying Arteta won the FA Cup and gave him credibility to get a project with a shit squad. By the way, Potter can't do nothing with a shit squad. Just because Arteta is winning doesn't mean Potter will be better. Listen, the thing is, Curtis, now I would agree with you. When you said this before, you didn't even give Potter the chance to win an FA Cup. So there's already kind of a bias you have there. But here's the other thing too. You have to look at it in the other way. Although I agree with you, you have to look at it this way as well. This is the same team that Thomas Tuchel managed. Same exact team that Frank Lampard managed. Although Frank Lampard's not anywhere near the manager that Thomas Tuchel is. We obviously know this. Winning that Champions League really, really masked the deficiencies that we have in this club. And I think with Potter, it's a rude awakening, but we're realizing that there's a lot of players in this club that need to go. Whether it be because of ego, whether it be because of their inability to fit a system or their inability to follow tactics. There are players that just don't benefit Chelsea anymore. And yeah, it's not just on Potter. But that's happening under Tuchel.
But that's a good thing, you know. We're getting a rude awakening. Yeah. I'm fine for this to happen as long as people understand, you know, as long as they can read the room, as long as we can actually raise the standards of this football club back up to say that player X, player Y, player Z, they're not good enough and we need better. As soon as we can start realizing that as a fan base, I think we can definitely, you know, we can have more realistic and more aspirational goals for where BOEHLY wants to take us in the future, and by equivalence, where Potter wants to take us in the future.
All right, let's continue this video, my friend.
That's not normal. That's not normal. Now, when we talk about the context, we talk about everything, right? There are players in this team that, I'm sorry, give up. Throw them away. If you can sell them, please, right? There's many. And this is where we have to be realistic, and I'm going to come to that shortly. But in terms of some of these players, Kai Havertz, I'm sorry, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I am absolutely done. Finished. If we're able to get away to sell him, sell him. Mason Mount, academy lad, yeah? One of Cobham's finest, right? Reece James is one of Cobham's finest, properly it seems, in terms of actually being consistent, showing progress, getting better. Mount hasn't just stagnated. He's regressed. He's gone back, and he keeps going back. And we still are not able to realize what Mason Mount is really good at. What stands him out? What, just that he runs? If that's the case, mate, we might as well just create an athletics team. Send him to the Olympics. He will win gold for us. Team GB will get gold with Mount running for them. They will, 100%. It's unbelievable. But today, lost. And it just keeps going and going and going. Mason Mount.
I mean, listen. As much as I want to defend Havertz and stuff, he's too inconsistent to be in this team at the moment. Like this isn't the time to be inconsistent. Right now, we're in a period where we need consistent players, and obviously, look, I'm a Mount. No, I was about to say a Mount stan. Oh no, I'm far from it. I'm a Havertz stan, but I've been pretty level-headed and impartial on Havertz, and at the end of the day, I call a spade a spade. If he plays like shit, I call it out. If he plays reasonably well, I call it out as well. And that's just my opinion, obviously. And I feel the same way about Ziyech. But no one, and the reason I defend Havertz is because no one has come at me with proper criticism of him. If you come and tell me he's been insanely inconsistent for Chelsea and that inconsistency doesn't help us, then yeah, I agree with you. A lot of people just like to argue that, oh, what is he good? He's not good at anything. Like, no. There's talent in this kid. It's not going to work out at Chelsea. Mason Mount, you hear it all the time. He runs. Oh, he even the other things like the pressing, even that's disappeared now. At this point, it's so. At this point, it's regressed so much where he doesn't do anything in games. He doesn't have any impact in games at all. He disappears in the matches, and he plays in such an important position where you're trying to connect the defense to the attack, the midfield role. It is an insanely important role, and you can't disappear in that role. Like, it's just he runs, bro. Last time I checked, running is a part of the sport. That's like, you have to run in order to play football. If you're not running, then you're not playing football. It's that simple. So he's not wrong. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Ollie.
I mean, for me, with Havertz and Mount, there's a deeper conversation to be had than just, oh, they were bad against Nottingham Forest, they were bad against Manchester City. They've got contracts. They've got contracts coming up. I'm especially, Mount's got in the summer. Mount's got a year left, and Havertz has 2. Like with Havertz, he's someone that we paid a lot of money for, so you'd want to try and recoup that if possible. So with 2 years left on the deal, it's the conversation, you either extend him or you sell him. There's no in between, because otherwise we'll lose him on a free. So that's the conversation I have when it comes to Havertz and whether he should be here beyond this season. And with Mount, it's just, if it's true that he wants £300,000 per week as his salary, then the performance levels just aren't there, and the consistency never has been there. So, and like I said, 1 year left on the contract. So this is literally the last time to get money for him, unless he extends the contract. But that depends on terms. So I think there's more to it than just they've been terrible in 2023 and for the most of 2022. I think there's a deeper, you got to look at their contracts and think, okay, when is it going to be time to move on, if at all?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. There's a lot of thought that has to go into these players, and the board is obviously handling it right now. But the thought right now in the Chelsea fan base, and I would agree with it, is that both of these players need to go. I would argue Mount more so than Havertz. Maybe I have a bias. Maybe I'm being too harsh. If I am being too harsh, go ahead and let me know in the chat, because sometimes I don't see these things. But I would argue that most times when Mount is not in that lineup, Havertz actually performs okay, and he does all right. He'll do a job.
I mean, you saw it. You saw it in both City games. In the one where he was out with injury. I mean, Sterling did get injured, which pushed Havertz into a 10, and I guess that made him a little bit better. But then when it all came together in this FA Cup game, Mount on the wing, I mean, again, that's another area where I can criticise Potter. Mount has never worked on the wing unless it's in a back three. It just doesn't work. So you have Carney Chukwuemeka, who I understand he's coming back for an injury, but so was Mount, and you just threw him straight back into the lineup. Why couldn't Carney get the same treatment when he was the one that actually came out of, I can't remember what day it was, but that came out of that match day as a standout performer in that team alongside Dennis Zakaria.
Thursday, yeah. We'll have to see. Guys, make sure you're smashing that like button. Helps out the channel big time. All right, let's go on and continue this.
We know there's a contract negotiation coming up, isn't there? Or he's in the midst of it. Seems like they haven't agreed.
Yeah, this is what I was saying.
$100K a week. Sell. Get the money in and sell. We have to start realizing some truths here. There are players, yes, that are good, right? Good. But, and we...
It's bad when Younes is actually saying we should sell Mason Mount. It's bad. And I could not believe when he said that. I really couldn't, because it's not something that a lot of these YouTubers, these big figureheads on YouTube, or talking heads and all these panelists actually say that. I've actually, I don't know if Younes has ever advocated, other than Romelu Lukaku, I'm not sure if he's ever advocated for anyone to really leave the club in recent times, especially someone as staple as Mason Mount.
Not that I can remember, no.
Yeah, he's always pretty supportive, and he has like pretty level-headed opinions on all these players. But I think it's safe to say this season, I don't think I'm being biased when I'm criticizing Mason Mount. I think the performances have actually dropped so low to the point where I'm finding myself criticizing Mason Mount in almost every single performance that he's in. It's fucking horrible to say it, which is why I need people to be like, am I crazy, or is he actually playing like shit, So it is what it is. Big up, Scott. How you doing, my friend?
I'm not too bad. I would have been on earlier. I completely forgot you were streaming.
Oh,
it's all good. It's all good.
Marshall.
Well, it's okay. It happens. Have you seen this video already, Scott?
I haven't. I saw a couple people retweet it, but I haven't actually watched any of the video.
So he just said that Mason Mount and Kai Havertz could leave the club. I don't know if you have any.
He said we should sell them.
We should sell them, actually. Yeah, I don't disagree. Just coming from him, it's shocking. You know what I'm saying, Scott?
I don't think it is, though, because Younes
Mason Mount part at least.
I don't think it is, though, because for the most part, Younes is level-headed. He's never been one of these stands who wants to just blindly follow people. If you listen, the only thing I disagree with him on when it comes to Chelsea, from what I've heard, is the stuff on the stuff on Graham Potter, which I don't know if he's spoken about yet. That's the only real thing I disagree with him on.
That's coming up, yeah.
Apart from that, most of the stuff he says when it comes to Chelsea Football Club, when it comes to these players, he is spot on with. He's really level-headed about it, and he's right in terms with Mount and Havertz. The fact of the matter is, I've said this before when in terms of with players, the players we've got, that you can't really look at any one player and say they are the full reason as to why we play terribly. It's a collective. But I'll be completely honest, and I'm not just saying this because I dislike him. If you look at our season and look at the games he hasn't played and the performance we've had, that if you want to single out any player as to they are, if you want to put most of the blame on any one player, Mount is a large part of why we play why we do.
That's crazy,
yes, you can say that Havertz is bad, and he is. Jorginho has problems, yes, he does. You can look at how bad Koulibaly's been, how bad Aspi is. But the fact of the matter is, we've still got results and had good performances with those guys in the team. More often than not, we have terrible performances with Mount in the team. More often than not, especially
crazy. I completely overlooked that. That is actually a huge fact that Scott just said. You look at the games where Mason Mount hasn't started, and our performances actually looked pretty solid.
I know some players again were missing, like Jorginho wasn't playing and whatnot. Did you go back and look at our last two games? We played the same team. We played the same team, one with Mount and one without Mount. And the one without Mount, we played much better.
That's crazy.
Then this is the thing, he's not the sole reason why we are bad, But again, if you want to take the view of looking at one player and saying they are a large part of why we play bad, bro, it's him, then it's Jorginho, then it's Havertz. Actually, no, it's him, then it's Jorginho, then Aspi. I'd say it's those three, and he's top, and then the other two are debatable.
You came in at the right time. All right, let's continue this.
Yeah.
You portray them right now as the best that Chelsea have to offer. They're not Chelsea caliber. We have to start respecting ourselves here. We're losing respect for ourselves. We're losing respect for what Chelsea caliber is, right? And I know some people are going, no, but that's too self-entitled. You can't. What's self-entitled about me wanting to win, me wanting to be a winner, me wanting to put myself at the top, remain there? And if I do come down a couple of notches, it's okay, but I always demand the best. I always want to be the best. I always want to win. I want to maintain that standard, and it's okay to lose sometimes because that's life. You always have to fail in order to get better. That's normal, but not like this. Not like this. For Chelsea, having to drop into fourth was bad enough. But even then, now in today's game, we accept it because it's top four. Fifth, sixth, that's a red line. You can't go lower. You can't. You cannot go lower. And if you start accepting that and thinking it's okay to drop lower, and even if you're there, you're like, oh, don't worry, we'll be back. We'll be back. Yeah, we'll be back. But you accept. You're not angry at the situation. You're not fuming at the situation, thinking there needs to be an urgency to change this. We have to change this. There's no urgency. That's what's worrying me. It's okay for things to go a little bit wrong when there's urgency, when you can see the people are peed off. People are, no, things have to change. There's an attitude. There's a fire. They go onto the pitch. You start seeing them going in, not necessarily breaking legs, but you know the term. There's nothing. This is my point problem. There's nothing. There's nothing. Some of these players, as I've said, Havertz, Mount, Jorginho. There are players here that they're just not Chelsea level anymore. They're just not. If they even were, they're not. They're not. However, I'd like to make this case, right? Are all the Chelsea players bad? Are all the Chelsea players this bad?
Yes, in large part.
Okay, so is it majority of the squad, or is it, choice players? Is it is it a combination of both? The manager? I don't know.
I think some of a decent amount of players are good. I think the problem is we have too many players that aren't good that make them look worse. Like, I'll be real, I don't think Sterling is as bad as he's looked. Like, we saw under people that he is a good player. We saw under Guardiola. I know he's one of the best managers to ever manage in my lifetime and in any lifetime. But when you are asking him to go and you take him from working with the likes of, let's take out the big names. Let's look at Gundogan, Foden. Let's look at even Grealish at times. Let's look at, I don't know when he joined exactly, but you go back and look at some of the players that he played with. They're not even the best that City have ever had. And he looks miles better then than he does now. Like, he can't do much when he's the only one being asked to do anything in attack. And you've got like the bums that I mentioned earlier. Like, you've got Mount, who is running around like a headless chicken. Kai Havertz can't hold the ball up. When you've got Aubameyang, who does nothing apart from running behind. Like, that's all he can do because he's 33.
Well, not even just at City. I mean, even some of Sterling's old Liverpool teammates. He looked a lot better back there. Yeah, exactly.
And that was when he was raw and he was really raw, and he had certain attributes that were good, but he was unpolished, like really unpolished. But this is the thing, and something that he mentioned earlier as well in terms of like the quality of the squad, because we were having a debate on Lewis's stream earlier about like Mourinho and about signings and whatnot. I missed a large part of the conversation. I was working at the time, so I had the stream muted. But we got to talking about, I was making a point about how you went from Mata to Oscar with Mourinho, and it's like that was a step down, but that wasn't as significant a step down that it affected the team in general. Like, we still won the league with Oscar as our number 10, even though the downgrade on Mata, because the rest of the team worked. And it's like he's spot on with some of these players. So it's like, oh, this is the best Chelsea have to offer. That's a damning indictment because they're crap. They're garbage. So if they're the best we have to offer, then what does that say about the rest of the squad? If this is this is the pinnacle of Chelsea Football Club, we might as well be 10th if that's our best.
Yeah.
Some of these, man, one last point on that, because I have been talking a while. You want to go. There are some of these players genuinely on form right now don't start for West Ham.
Yeah.
And that's a West Ham team that are basically in the relegation zone.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in relegation form. Let's not sugarcoat it. Honestly, this is horrible. But
you're not wrong, man.
But no, that conversation about like having the best to offer. And even if you're gonna downgrade from a Mata to an Oscar but still win a league, yeah, cool. But when you're going from like Rudiger to Koulibaly and it just looks completely out of sorts, like that's a big problem.
Yeah, especially
like bigger than a lot of people want to give credit.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering these are players that you brought in to replace these guys. A lot of us thought there was gonna be an improvement from Rudiger to a Koulibaly, and even Cucurella. You bring in these players thinking that, oh man, we actually might have just gotten someone to replace Chilwell, not just compete with him at the left back position. They just haven't been performing up to par. The form has been terrible. The form has been absolutely terrible in this club. So, I mean, there's not. You guys said it pretty much everything that I would have said. So there's not really much for me to add there. Let's go ahead and continue.
Can't be. It can't be. It's impossible. It's impossible. I'm all for, you know what? Let's change the squad. Yeah? Let's change the squad. Get rid of everybody. Let's get a new set of lads in, yeah? I'm all for that. And in the long term, yes, maybe that is what we need to do. But my God, we need someone that can lead that. Graham Potter is just not that guy. I'm sorry to say, he might be a very nice guy. I saw people getting excited that he was showing a little bit of fire in the press conference. Oh, wow, the inner dog is coming out. Oh, the inner dog. No. Listen, people have got their priorities wrong. I don't care how Potter establishes himself in a press conference, right? Couldn't care less. A little bit of fire is good because the players do watch that. But he's with the players day in, day out, hour by hour, every single day for the season. It's about what happens there. It's about what happens during a game. It's about what happens in training. You see his true colors during a game. And so far, doesn't match the inner dog that I saw in a press conference. Doesn't match it at all. I couldn't care less how he talks to some journalists. What are they going to do? Are they going to change the situation? No. Couldn't care less how he talks to us fans, even though he's already come at us a little bit in terms of some of the fans. He's come at, little bit of comments. And it's funny that because I saw some Brighton fans saying he done that when he was at Brighton. I only discovered that today. But anyway, that's a story for a different day because I don't have the details.
Yeah, he did.
We can't change it. We're not on the pitch. We don't have an influence in terms of what's going on the pitch. You want to get the inner dog, or you want to try and show some fire, something. Do it to your players. Do it to the ones that can change the situation. When it matters most during a game like today, I expect the manager to be fuming because.
Okay, I don't disagree with what he's saying here. I think there is a little bit of a lack of. I don't know. This is why I always am curious as to what is going on behind the scenes. How is Potter approaching these issues? Who is he discussing with? How is he discussing it with? Like, I want to know some inside baseball here, which is, I guess, an American terminology here. But I kind of want to know what's going on because he talks about it, but there are certain managers that they don't need to be all hidey-tidy, loud on the sideline to get their point across. But it says a lot, especially with Potter, that there's a reason why Chelsea for since he's taken over pretty much have been first half FC. How is it that we start off a game so well, and then the second half, we just completely capitulate? That right there tells me something is going on with the manager's tactics or something is going on in that locker room that the manager is saying that's not getting through to the players, where we completely just lose control of the game and second halves. And I've been noticing that for the past few weeks that Chelsea have been back now, or even prior to the World Cup. What happens in that locker room that second half performance is just completely dropped? The players just forget that they're even playing a game that they're trying to win. So it says a lot about the manager when that doesn't get translated. I don't know what it could be.
There have been reports that some players aren't buying into it, and that would obviously explain a lot, because that doesn't look like there's enough motivation on the pitch to even, test opposition teams. So that would definitely explain a lot. Whether there's a solution available to Potter, I don't know, because if it's too many players that are the problem here, if too many players aren't buying in, then where do you really look? Whereas if it's one or two players, you can certainly take them out and put someone else in. So that's why, on the one hand, I do definitely want to give him the benefit of the doubt. But on the other hand, there are some instances where he could definitely do better, especially with the in-game management. Like if you're trying to coach these players to have better second halves and they're not doing it, take them out. Don't wait until the 78th minute to make a substitution. That's where I have a problem with it personally.
I can't lie. I think he's doing that now. We saw that against C. Like he took Havertz and I can't remember who else off straight up.
Kovacic.
Yeah, literally took him off halftime. Like I was like, "F this." Like I'm switching out now, and he brought Fofana on as well. Like it was like, I'm gonna bring this guy, and he's literally been here like not even a minute. I'm gonna bring this guy in.
He got announced the day before.
Yeah. Literally, and it's like
been here 24 hours.
The thing that I with Potter though that I keep saying, like on this thing with the players as well, if they're not buying into what he said, like it's just a mentality problem. It's the same with these players. It's always been the same with this group of players. I don't know what it is. Like this group of players, it's just the same. We thought that getting rid of some of them, i.e. Alonso and others, would help, but we need to get rid of more of them because it's still there. It's still festering. Because we had this same problem under Tuchel. And there were plenty of times when we had the same problem in terms of the second half, and there were plenty of times when we had it in the first half, whereas literally like these guys weren't switched on for the entirety of the first half. Then half time came.
Do you remember 2-2 against Wolves?
There were so many games. I can't remember all of them. There were so many games where we did this, and this is the thing. It's a mentality problem with this team, and that's why I can't like really give all the energy to Potter. Also, like again with the thing with Potter, he's been here 4 months. It was 4 months 2 days ago that since he's been in charge.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I don't expect him to be performing miracles because next to no manager in the world can perform the kind of miracles that people are expecting with this team. Like you Pep Guardiola, this team, he's not performing miracles, so I can't expect it from Potter. I just can't. He needs to, as you said, Oliver, he needs to do better in certain things, like the in-game management. This is poor sometimes, like the timing of subs and whatnot. The actual subs themselves, like bringing in the game, was it the City one? I think it might have been the City one. We took Zakaria out, and then he took Jorginho out and put Gallagher in. And it was like that. The whole sub with that was just wrong.
That was
like
terrible.
I think that was the Bournemouth game. I think.
Oh, was it the Bournemouth game? Whichever game that was, where Zakaria should have stayed on if you were gonna.
Yeah, it was Bournemouth.
If you were gonna try and push for the game, Zakaria needed to stay on. You take Jorginho off, and then that's when you bring Gallagher or you bring Kovacic or whoever on. Like that whole sub was wrong.
At that point, it wasn't even about pushing for the game though. Like we were under the cosh by Bournemouth at that time because Reece James had come off, and our team turns to jelly whenever Reece James isn't there. So, it was about preserving the result, and Zakaria helps us with that. You see the qualities he brings, off the ball especially.
But like as I said, with the whole Potter thing is like, my whole thing again is who are you giving? What manager's going to come in and fix this? Like, what manager? Because you can tell me a manager, and I can show you an example of where they failed when they didn't have the players around them. Keep talking about Enrique. Like, go and look at his record when he didn't have that Barca team. Like, he did wonders with that Barca team. But go and look how he did at Roma, and go and look how he did at Celta Vigo. It was garbage. Like, his win percentage at Celta Vigo is in the 30s. Like, when he doesn't have the players that are going to work, we saw that internationally. When he doesn't have the certain players, like when his attack is looking dead, doesn't matter how many good players you have in midfield or defense. If your attack is dead and can't break down a team, you're not scoring. You're not doing well. It's not happening. So, like,
Scott, I think you've made a point of this before. Like with Enrique, like people want player X, player Y, player Z to be dropped. Okay, bring in Enrique. He didn't drop Ferran Torres in the World Cup. I think you've made that point before. There are the same inconsistencies there. So, what does it solve?
I was going to say on that, I think the two wingers, I'm fairly sure Asensio and Olmo played every single game. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly sure they played every game. I think Torres was only dropped for one game when Morata was brought in. Either that or he played on the wing and Morata was brought in for one game. Like, he kept the front three the same basically every game in the World Cup. Despite the fact that they weren't great. Like, Olmo was decent, wasn't great. Torres again was decent, not great. Asensio was probably the best of the three. And it's like, this is the thing, and I don't see what changing Potter does now. And this is the only thing I disagree with Younes, because like, how can we say that he's not doing enough with these players when Tuchel didn't do enough with these players at the start of the season? In fact, the entire calendar year last year, Tuchel basically did not do much with these players. Like, he basically did he did as much as he could with the players, and it still wasn't enough because these players still let him down in the Carabao Cup final, in the FA Cup final, in the league, just about scraping in top 4. Like at the start of the season, like the fact we lost our first Champions League game against Zagreb.
Yeah.
Like it comes back to the same issue. The same group of players let Lampard down, however good or bad he wasn't a manager. Some of them let Sarri down. Some of them a couple of them even let they didn't really let Conte down, but were here when Conte was here, and they're still here. Like that I can't give all my energy to Potter because look what he's working with. Like it took time when he was at Brighton. It took time for other managers. Another example that I was made aware of or found out in terms of because that video that went around with Emma Hayes like about what she was saying to the women's team.
Yeah,
I found out afterwards.
Yeah.
I found out afterwards. Do you know how long it took her to win silverware at Chelsea once she became manager?
go on.
2 years, 2 seasons.
Right.
And dominant force in the women's.
I would say, and it
division.
took, I quote, a massive squad overhaul. That's what is needed. I can't judge Potter entirely. Like I can criticize certain decisions. I can't judge whether he's a good enough manager for Chelsea Football Club until we get better players, and I just can't because I've seen what this group of players does with a better manager, and it was still nowhere. Like it was scraping top 4, letting him down in another final. Like
I know people like to laugh at this, but even Pep, when he first came into the club, I know he recently was quoted saying it took him 2 seasons to win with Man City. I think something like that.
Yeah, he felt in the first season they finished 4th. Second season I think they won.
Yeah.
So it took him a whole season pretty much. But even in that first season, there were players that he wanted out of the club because they were not suiting his system. They didn't want to. They had their own egos. They didn't want to follow tactics or whatnot. There was disagreements. We saw what happened with Sane. We saw what happened with players that left Man City like Sancho and name what you will. Eventually, Silva was out of the club. There's a lot of these players that even a manager like Pep has to start to get out. A manager like Pep, someone who is considered one of the best, there are certain players that he just can't get to just cooperate with him and his tactics and his vision.
I think there's some parallels with I think some parallels with Pep's team from that like 2016-17, when we won the title. There's some parallels between that team and this team, especially the age in some of the positions. I mean, I think Pep's fullbacks in that team, they were old, man. They didn't have the legs for it. And
bro, I'm looking at it now. Yeah. When you're finished your point, I want to read you. This is the 4-0 game. This is the point at which, by the way, if people don't remember, this is the point at which some City fans turned on Pep and they wanted him out when they lost 4-0 to Everton. I'm going to read you the 2 teams, just the starting 11s. Holy shit.
Yeah, I think what it was with Pep, I think he had 2 fullbacks that literally had 0 pace, and then he had to turn a left back into a left centre back so that he could have a left-footed player in the defence. Like it was makeshift, and there just wasn't legs in the team. Similar to us, we have players like Jorginho, Azpilicueta, Koulibaly to an extent, just no legs there. You need a fast team in order to even have a single chance of competing at a decent level, let alone Chelsea. We want to get back to winning league titles in however many seasons.
So you want to go ahead and
name that team then, Scott?
These are the 2 teams. I'll start with the City team first. Bravo in goal. The back 4 from right to left: Sanya, Otamendi, Stones, Clichy. Then, according to Google, they were playing a diamond. So we got a Zabaleta at CDM.
Oh my god!
The 2 wide centre mids: Sterling and Torre. The number 10, Silva, and the 2 forwards, De Bruyne and Aguero.
Sterling was a number 8. Oh my god!
That's the team that they lost 4-0 with. Let me just read you the team that beat them. Joel Robles. The centre backs, they played a back 3 of Holgate, Ashley Williams, and Funes Mori. The 5 across the midfield: Coleman, Tom Davies, who scored, Gareth Barry, Ross Barkley, and Leighton Baines, and a front 2 of Kevin Morales and Romelu Lukaku.
Jesus Christ, man! Those are some players I haven't heard of in a hot minute. Oh my god!
Yeah. 4-0. And this is the point: is like even Pep had the struggles, and people go, "You can't compare Pep to Potter." And I'm not even saying Potter's going to get anywhere near the level of Pep. Like I'm not. I don't think he will, and I've said this from the beginning with Potter. I don't think he will be the guy to win us trophies. I think he will be the guy though to stabilize the club and put us in a position where a better guy comes in once the club is stable and comfortably getting top 4. That they will then push on to get the title. But I can't judge that. Like, I can't judge him on whether he's doing a good job of that right now. When like I'm seeing like Mount not be able to. I was gonna say I'm seeing Havertz not be able to hold the ball up, or Jorginho not be able to defend a transition, or Koulibaly not able to play a simple long pass, or Mount not be able to control a football, or like Aubameyang standing in acres of space and not getting the ball, or Ziyech not being able to beat a man on a dribble. Like these are basics, just full basics of football that these people can't complete on a game-to-game basis. I can't judge him. I just can't judge him. Not in any fair sense. Not in 4 months worth of a job with this shit.
And to be fair to anyone saying that Tuchel made top 4, just realize that Tuchel barely scrapped top 4 last season. We actually almost lost top 4 considering a huge gap we had between Arsenal and what was it, Tottenham, I guess, right? And then the season before that, the Lampard season, Gareth Bale bailed us out and got us a top 4 spot.
Also, we were having at the start of the season Tuchel in or out debates. That was a thing that actually happened. So it wasn't like people.
It
were
was starting. It was starting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were starting, but they were still there. It's like that was so in the space of a season. Actually, not even a season. In the space of 6 months, we've managed to have 2 different debates about 2 managers about whether they're in or out. What's the common denominator here? It's the players.
The biggest hypocrisy of all of this is, you got all these people that want to do the Tuchel revisionism. What's Tuchel's quote? We have the same issue because we have the same players. Live by that.
Tuchel said it himself. Also, that's crazy.
Can I just say, and he said the same players. Like, again, I'm not, because people keep getting confused when I keep bringing up Tuchel and trying to bring out his fault. It's not to bash him and try and tear him down to big Potter up. It's to show you that even some managers can make mistakes, and where we are right now is not fully just because of Potter. There are other things at play. Like, he's the same person that said that while also taking Batshuayi, Kennedy, and Barkley, I think it was.
Left Gilmore at home.
In the pre-season squads. And left Gilmore at home. Didn't take Colwell, wasn't going to integrate him. Profiled Gallagher as a central midfielder in a pivot next to Jorginho. Like, what?
Tuchel did that too. This is,
No, exactly. Tuchel did that. He did that.
Yeah.
Like, he was the one who said we didn't need him.
Also played Ruben Loftus-Cheek at center back. That there was so many of these. Like,
I can't believe he did that in that game. I know he ended up getting an assist, but that was when I saw that. I could not believe what I was seeing.
So there's like
got to rest Silva somehow, I guess.
I guess, yeah. So like, in a sense, the way the fan base has to look at it is that Tuchel was basically steering a sinking ship, and Graham Potter basically inherited this sinking ship that is only sinking more and more and more.
Yep.
It's really unfortunate. But let's continue this video and let's see what else Younes has to say.
Today's performance was indescribable. It's a disgrace. Today's performance was disgraceful. We knew we were going to lose, but there's a way of losing. Not like this, by just downing tools, giving up, and just... That's it. Lights on fire. Instead, I see Potter like this. What? He thinks this is going to be okay. That's his reaction. During a game is where you have that influence if you want to get an inner dog out. There's none. But even if we're going to turn away from the mentality or the emotion, because I understand when some people say it's not all just about the emotion on the touchline. I get that. Ancelotti, for example, wasn't someone that would be on the touchline just raving and ranting, right? No, but he had authority. You just had to look at him and you knew that he was serious, right? He could look at you with a cigar and you just knew that he was serious and you could not play. And he had that respect, built that over time. But the man was a winner. You need a manager that's a winner in order to demand that respect. It's not something that's just going to come along just like that. Potter hasn't got it. I'm sorry. Potter does not have it. Potter does not have authority. This is the problem. This is where I go back now to some of the points that I made in terms of the players. Are all of these players bad? Even some of the young ones today that just look like they gave up. And I have to say, for some of them, I can't really blame them. When you look at a Hutchinson, you look at a Humphreys, for example, even a Hall. they're in a bit of a situation here where they're probably thinking they haven't even got the experience to deal with with a situation like that. So you know what? Cool. But even them during a game, they looked lost. They had no direction, nothing. They just looked baffled, and they stopped, just like everyone else stopped. Everyone just stopped. You cannot have an entire group that's just given up. If that's the case, it points to the gaffer. I'm sorry, it points to the gaffer. You know what that equals? When you have everyone that downs and stops, you've lost the dressing room. It's done. You've lost it. You've lost the dressing. You've lost control.
Do you guys think he's lost the dressing room? Or it's just the particular set of players that are supposed to be leaders in this group that are probably being a little rogue when it comes to the tactics in the lineup, and then it throws off these youngsters? Because I'm not going to say that the youngsters looked lost. For one, Fofana, first time in the game, had one training session with the team. He's not going to know how people play, how to, when to do a run and go or a pass and go, and so on and so forth. Lewis Hall, he only just got promoted to the first team. Amari Hutchinson, he still has a lot to learn. He's still young, 18. Like, I don't think this is the most genuine or the most charitable take on Potter's authority on the youngsters. I don't know what you guys feel about that.
I think it's more the senior players. Like, I think a lot of people have said this. It's more the seniority who have been here for 3, 5, maybe, in Azpilicueta's case, 10 years. That they've been there for so long, and they just they've been through so much. You're not going to look at Lewis Hall and think, okay, he's lost the dressing room. You're looking at Jorginho, you're looking at Kovacic, and you're thinking, you've been here for 3, 4 managers, mate. Like, you're the common denominator. So I don't know what you're looking around for. It's you.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that.
Yeah.
I think with the players, I think he might have lost the dressing room, but I don't think it's his fault, because I think losing the dressing room has certain connotations, or like the wording of it has certain connotations about, like towards a manager. It in my mind, it kind of hints at it's the manager's fault that he's lost the dressing room. But I don't think it's his fault if he has lost it. I think it's just, again, these players, this mentality, like. How are you potentially giving up on this guy 4 months into a job? Like, you already gave up on the last guy. You got the last guy sacked because you didn't want to perform. Like, it's just, it's, for me, all my energy just keeps going into these players because they're just not good enough. I see that on a week-to-week basis. And I don't know how many more managers we have to go through before we realize that. Like, I don't know how many more managers have to try and coach some of these players how to do the basics before we realize they just can't do the basics to the level that they need to be here. Like, I don't know how many people I can try and coach Gallagher to make a simple pass. Like, I can't fathom how many managers have to try and do that. Because it's just
with a Gallagher, that's just like a quality. Let's be real.
Oh, it is, but that's part of the problem is. There's such a lack of quality from a technical and physical level in this squad. Like, there's just such it's such a low level that the few bits of quality we've got are just completely drowned out. Yeah, like, I just think, as I said, it's so much on these players. Like, there's certain things Potter maybe could do more, and like the charisma thing to me is massively overblown, because there's plenty of managers that are charismatic that are terrible managers, Antonio Conte, anyone, or there's plenty of managers who are not the most charismatic, but are either doing a great job in their current thing or are good managers. Like, for example, I would not say Eddie Howe is a massively charismatic guy, or I wouldn't have said that before Newcastle, but he's doing a fantastic job. There are certain interviews come out which he looks a bit more charismatic than I thought he was, but I would not say he's, a Tuchel, a Guardiola, a Conte kind of level on the sideline, giving it all that. But also, if you want to look at another one who's charismatic but terrible, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, there's 2 more.
You go.
Let's take another, like, I could keep going. Like, there's plenty of guys that are charismatic and aren't good, and there's plenty of guys who aren't charismatic and are good, or are charismatic. Yeah, you know what I mean. I think, like, the charisma thing for me is massively blown up. Massively. I think it's nice to have it, but it's not a be all and end all. Because as you just mentioned, like, Carlo Ancelotti didn't have a lot of charisma in terms of outwardly. Like he wasn't in terms of his vote, like in terms of being vocal. I mean, I wouldn't say he was a very vocal kind of guy, but he had charisma in terms of just the way he A, presented himself, and B, just kind of he was able to carry himself. And that's the thing, is he was able to build that over a long period of time, over a huge managerial career. So I need to give it more time. Again, in a year's time, like I might be sat here saying, Potter isn't the guy, and the charisma thing is an issue. We've got the players in, things can, like, it just doesn't look like it's working. But like what can I say right now? It doesn't look like it's working, yeah, but that's because, again, he can try and implement things as much as he wants. When the players can't follow basic instructions, doesn't matter what he implements.
I just want to address this comment real quick. Becco Benson, haven't seen you in the channel. Welcome, brother. Hopefully you're here for a while. We'll see you in future streams. But just to address this, Christopher Vivell is the director of Chelsea, and he's kind of leading these transfers, and I'm sure he's a competent enough person to get it done. So have faith that there's still 20 more days to the transfer window, and that we will get these things done. And I will address some of these things tomorrow's show on the Casually Chelsea show. But listen, our attackers are getting injured left and right. There's no Pulisic, there's no Sterling, and Mason Mount's not performing. Neither is Kai Havertz. Broja's out. We're depending on a Fofana. So listen, Felix comes in. It is what it is. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is.
The best time to assess is going to be February the 1st. Who cares what order these players come in, as long as we have them to complete the season. And in some cases, Felix is obviously a loan, but with some of the players that we'd be looking to sign on a permanent basis, not only for the next 5 months, but for a few years beyond that, it's not worth looking at it now. As long as we have them for the longer stretch of the season, that's all that matters. Who cares? Who cares if we get Felix before a defensive midfielder or right back? It's might not be a cup of tea, but we'll get him at the end of the day.
Also,
and if we don't get them, then that's when we can criticize.
Yeah. All right, let's continue the video, boys.
Control. You have lost control. That's the problem. It's okay. I'm all for. Don't get me wrong, people. I'm all for the process. I'm all for. Let's get rid of these players. Yes, it's been a miss. It's been a complete mismatch since 2017, since Antonio Conte, right? It's been a mess. We've got players in, got rid of some, got some in, got rid of some, got some in, got rid of some. Change manager. Absolutely, I agree. But in order to clean that up, you have to get the right guy in first, and that right guy needs to show that he's the right guy and that you can trust that right guy, and then start building around him. A lot of people thought Tuchel was that guy, and
Okay. Okay. I kind of want to keep going, but I have to address that. This is where I start disagreeing with Younes a lot. How do we know that Potter isn't the right guy when he haven't even given him a transfer window? How do we know that Tuchel was the right guy when Tuchel was the one heading into this direction when he was in the club? So where is this criticism coming from? How do you know why? Because he's not, maybe you don't think he has the right personality trait on a touchline, or maybe, I don't know, he doesn't have authority based on what you're saying, like maybe based on what you saw on the training ground, because I know Younes did a video where he went to the training ground and spoke with some of these players and got to meet the manager and stuff and see some of the training. But like, I don't know where this is coming from, where he's not the right. How do we know? There's no way of knowing. I know Chelsea isn't performing well right now, but we just talked about it and reiterated it multiple times. And even, thank you, Jimmy, like you said, Tuchel said, how do you expect any changes when we have the same players?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know where it's coming from, man.
Exactly. Like, and this is the thing. Like, as I said, I agree with Younes on a lot, but there's stuff with Graham Potter I don't. And I do want. When was this released?
Was this after the game?
The day after the game, yeah.
Or maybe even the night of. Maybe even the night of. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested in speaking to him about this, because I'm sure I've actually talked to Younes in ages. But I'd be interested in speaking to him about this, like now, for example, when there's not a game on, see if his views are still the same. Because for me, I think a lot of feelings towards Potter after the City game, and at times are after games when things are a bit more heated. But yeah, I just think, as you said, the thing with Potter is I can't judge whether he's a good manager or not, because I've seen him manage, like I've seen him do wonders with certain players, and it's not like and people can say, oh, it's Brighton, but considering that he coached one of the current world champions, like he coached a guy who assisted in the final of a World Cup. He coached him. And bearing in mind, by the way, he coached him when he came in as a raw, like number 10, really, into a guy who could play as a number 8, even at times played as a 6, like a deep line playmaker. He coached other players like to a level where you take a guy like Solly March, for example, did okay in the Championship, was not that amazing. Coached him to be a competent, like to a decent level wing back when he was like primarily like a winger or a wide midfielder. Like managed to coach Cucurella, who was, you know, a winger who had played like a year or two at fullback or a wing back to be, you know, a comfortable left centre back, fullback, or wing back. Like he's coached players to a good enough level to where they are looking like, if not best in the league level, to a good enough level to compete in this league and to be a good Premier League player. So like I know he can coach players to a certain level. Like that's the thing. I know he can coach players to a certain level. So as Blues just mentioned, like he coached Welbeck to a decent level. This is like a 34-year-old Welbeck or whatever he is, and he managed to coach him to a decent level. I know he can coach players.
Same Brighton team has beaten us, embarrassed us.
I was going to say, someone brought this up again. I saw it on Twitter. Everyone talks about how good Ten Hag did, right? They lost to Brighton. Graham Potter's Brighton at the start of this season. Before they signed Casemiro, before they signed Anthony, they lost to Graham Potter's Brighton at the start of this season.
Yeah. And another thing to mention, too, because I know people aren't very happy with the window and what players we aren't getting, all the big names and stuff. How many players are we asking for that are from Brighton? Trossard. We asked for Cucurella. We wanted Basuma. What other players are there? Oh, McAllister, Caicedo,
the only two
Sanchez.
The only two that I would say we're genuinely looking at to the point of we might sign are Caicedo and maybe McAllister. I'd say the only two, and even McAllister's a stretch. Like,
but I'm just saying, like the fan base did it. All the 6 players I just named, none of the people in the fan base would argue to get them into Chelsea.
I was gonna say they're all an improvement on what we have. Sanchez is better than what we have right now as a goalkeeper. Like if you go and look at McAllister, he's better than every 10 we've certainly got right now, apart from like depending on where Felix is going to play now and depending on where Nkunku's going to play. But he's also arguably better than some of our other midfielders as an 8. Trossard, you could probably say, is better than some of our attackers. Like this, or he's at least on par. So like he's not worse.
And on the Arsenal thing too, like
our midfielders. This is the thing. Arsenal dipped. Arsenal literally last season were 16th at one point.
Oh God, I forgot about that. They were a laughing stock.
Did people forget that in the first 3, 4, maybe even 5 games of the season they were 16th?
No, they were 20th.
Wait, they were 20th. It's even worse.
Oh, true. They were last place at one point.
Their first game of the season, they lost to a newly promoted Brentford.
Do you guys remember? Because Arsenal were 20th and Spurs were top with Nuno. that was the whole meme and the whole discussion going about. Arsenal were 20th because they lost to Brentford, then they lost to us, and then they lost 5-0 to City. They were 20th.
Yeah. So goes to show some of these things just take time, people. We have to be patient. This guy needs his own, like, we've seen how players like Chukwuemeka performed under Potter. We've seen how players like Lewis Hall has performed under Potter, and Tuchel too as well. I mean, to give credit to him as well. But like, there are certain players that Zakaria, for example, who was so irrelevant at Juve. Look at him now. He didn't even play for his own country. Didn't even start for his own country, I should say.
No, that one guy.
Look at how he's playing at Chelsea. Look at how he's like. These are some of the brighter spots at Chelsea. These are some of the youngsters or some of the players that maybe are listening to Potter that are actually performing pretty damn well. there's certain bright spots in this team, and I'm sure when there's more transfers, when there's more players, when we start seeing maybe Badia Chile play and so on and so forth, we're gonna start seeing some of these brighter spots. I hope so, at least. I've said this multiple times. I'm gonna hold my judgments on Potter being if he's the right guy or not until next season, because this season is a scrap. It really is. It's just hopefully to get a better position at the table.
My judgment on Potter in terms of him as a coach will come like the earliest point at which I will judge him fully in terms of coaching this team and structuring this 11 or the team going forward. The earliest I'll be doing that is September of next season, of this year. The earliest point. Because at that point, he'll have had 2 transfer windows. He will have had enough time with the players that are going to be staying here to work with them. And he will have had enough time, I think, by that time to, depending on when we sign them in the window, of course, to have worked with the signings to, start, providing his ideas to them. Like, if come September we're still doing poorly, I'll start to judge him then. And then again, as the months go on, I'll start to see, what's going on. But right now, when he's working with the same shit that Tuchel did and Lampard did, and some of the same shit Sarri did, I'm not judging him, especially after 4 months. That's what is baffling to me after this. We're judging him after 4 months.
And on top of that, 10 injured players or 9 injured players. So there's a lot that factors into this. But let's continue this video, boys. Maybe we'll finish it.
The match-going fans today thought it was him because they started singing his name. They even started singing Roman Abramovich. I can't blame them. Because the way we've seen the standard has just been, it's not just dropped. It's been thrown to the floor, trampled on, crushed, burnt, evaporated with acid, and put into non-existence. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. It's evaporated. It's gone. That needs to stop. That needs to stop. There's a red line that's been crossed. That's the problem. You need to get the right guy in to lead and then build. And then go, you know what, we're going to trust you. We need a winner. Chelsea needs to get a winner in. Someone that you can look at and go, he's that guy. He's that guy. And then start building. Start commanding that respect. Start getting rid of the players that he wants to get rid of and start bringing in the ones that he wants to bring in and trust it and go along with it. But the manager needs to show something first. He has to. At least a command of respect and authority. Potter doesn't have any. And during a game, we're trying to still figure out what the hell the plan is. I don't see it. I do not see it, whether he's got seniors on, whether he's got youths on, whether he's got elders on, whether he's got ancestors on, whether he's got everything on. You still cannot see what we're trying to do. Every single manager that he's being compared to, including Arteta, including Ten Hag, including everyone. Even Lampard had a bit more of a plan than this. I mean, it's crazy.
Okay, hold on. Do you? I don't know. Do you guys agree with that take? Because that's pretty brash. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't, because Lampard's plan most of his first season was like, people don't want to admit it, was working off. Well, a lot of the plans on the first season, a lot of the patterns of play were like from Sarri. Right at the moment, literally the season where Lampard started trying to implement his plans in terms of formation and system he wanted to go with, it all went downhill. So
it was in that first season. It was pretty much Sarri, but with a bit more directness, a bit more long balls. That's all. It was just a variant of Sarri ball. So
I don't know about. He did that first season, but
first. I'm talking first season. Second season, what the hell was that?
Horrible record though. Even still, like. I don't know. Like, okay, I'm not going to take away credit from Lampard, but
let's just want to this comment here. Like, look at the competition we had back then. We had Leicester, who literally made it their mission to bottle it twice. 2 seasons in a row. In that particular season, they were like third for 80% of the season. They dropped out. We bottled to Man United, who were like 9th in January of 2020. So Lampard got us top 4. He wouldn't get us anywhere better in 2023 with the competition and the level that's raised in the Premier League. There's no way. Look at him at Everton.
I was going to say, Lampard did really well in that first season, But there's two things, one main thing with that is there were just no expectations. There was literally no pressure on him or the players because there was no expectations. No one expected us to finish top 4. I don't even think that many people expect us to finish in Europe, to be completely honest with you.
I heard a lot of top 6 predictions before that season.
So there was no pressure. And as we've seen with this team, when there's no pressure on them, they perform.
Yeah.
When there's no pressure on them, they will turn up. And then as well, as you mentioned, since that first season, look at what's happened. He failed in his second season with Chelsea, went to Everton, said loads of things in an interview with Gary Neville about, I went to Italy, went and learned loads of things. went to Everton, kept them up, cool, and has since showed that he's learned nothing, and it's exactly the same as it was when he was at Chelsea.
And even so, I look at Potter's last performance against Man City in the league, and there was something there. I can't recall in that December era to January era of Lampard where that even existed. We struggled. And I mean struggled. It was a last-minute goal from Mason Mount against Fulham.
Fulham, yeah.
Any win.
Fulham were down to 10 men that game. Imagine.
Yeah, and Fulham were down to 10 men
and we were
early in the game.
And we were the ones on the back foot. 10-man Fulham.
Yeah.
Right.
Fulham got relegated that season.
Even under Lampard, I don't know if there was any signs of life like this one outside of Mason Mount. Mason Mount was the only player in that team that looked like he gave a single shit.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if I can agree with Younes on this one. Lampard was pretty rough, I'm not gonna lie.
It's just recency and aspects of revisionism, with the Tuchel thing again. That revisionism, that's a whole can of worms that will probably open another day.
Even so, in this bad form that we are with Potter, I think Lampard was just losing more games. As with Potter, we're just dropping points a lot. I think we've had a few draws, some near defeats here and there. I can't remember. I have to look at the record. I'll probably pull it up all.
I honestly think the form is pretty comparable in terms of wins, losses, draws. But yeah, I mean, Potter has more credit in the bank than Lampard, doesn't he? In a objective footballing sense, because Lampard is obviously going to have the sentimental value of being, in some people's eyes, our greatest ever player. So but from an objective standpoint, Potter has more credit in the bank. So trust him more than Lampard. Jesus.
And also, I think this got brought up earlier by Younes. I can't remember what he said exactly, but I know other people brought this up in terms of the performance being one of our worst against City.
Yeah, he said that.
Do people not remember the 5-2 against West Brom? Or do they not remember the 4-2 against Arsenal? Or do they not remember the 3-1 or the 3-0 was it against Arsenal? Or do they not remember the 2-0 against Arsenal when we had Kante and Loftus-Cheek in the midfield? Or do they not remember the Brentford game that we lost where we got battered? Or do they not remember the other West Brom game that we lost where we got battered? Or do they not remember the Sheffield United games that we lost where we got embarrassed? We've had these performances under at least 3 different managers now. It's nothing new.
Let's continue, guys.
Yeah. We have to trust the process. We have to go along. I feel like an Arsenal fan. Oh my God.
I mean, he's not wrong.
I feel like this is what we've come to. We're saying the same words I've seen Arsenal fans say for years, and it's just hit me. Unbelievable. It's crazy. This is what it's come to. But it's true. There's people that are going, no matter what, Potter's got to see it through. He's got to see it through. Don't worry. We've got to see it through with Potter. It's fine. We'll give him some time. We'll just keep losing then, right? We've got 1 win in 10. And again, don't get me wrong. I'm all for process. But Potter's not showing anything here. And the players are not responding. And I understand there are players here that I would get rid of completely. Many of them. But to say the entire squad is useless and can't react to whatever you're trying to implement, you're the problem. In any field of work, if you have a project, you have a group, and every single person is performing badly, or every single person has an issue, are you looking to get rid of every single person, or are you going to go and talk to the project manager and find out what the hell is going on? You're going to find out that, right? Chances are you're not going to get rid of whatever it is, 10, 11, 12, however big the project group is. You're going to turn to the project manager, find out, is there a problem with you? You're not managing this. What's going on? You know whose job's going to be lost first? It's not them. That comes after. It's going to be the manager. That's just the reality of it. Now, I don't know what the new owners are thinking. I don't know what we're going to do, but this has gone way too deep and way too far for many people to go, oh, don't worry, it's okay. Chelsea will bounce back. It'll be fine. There are some circumstances, as I've said, in terms of injuries. Absolutely. But to have everybody that comes in just look clueless. And as I've said, what are we still trying to do? How are we trying to play? What is it that's going on? No one knows, but no one's responding. Attitude is in the gutter. Mentality is in the gutter. Physicality is in the gutter. Everything's in the gutter, and nothing's being done to claw something out. Instead, we're getting little sound bites to the media and to the fans. That's about it, really. It's not good enough at all. This is why I'm saying we need to pay attention to who is leading this now. We have to. This is rotten. This has gone way too far. This has gone really, really rotten. And I see a lot of people just accepting it and thinking it's going to be okay because it worked out for Arsenal, who have waited years, and now they find themselves top of the table, and all of a sudden it's something to compare to when we haven't even finished the season. Who knows where Arsenal might finish? You never know. They might plummet. You never know. They might go on and win the league. Cool. But think about it. Even if they go on and win the league, the last time they won the league was 2003. You willing to wait 19 years? I'm not. And no one should. Because there's levels here. There's levels.
I feel like that's kind of also a little bit of a bad faith take. Yeah, Arsenal.
That's
long.
ridiculous. That's ridiculous. The Arsenal project has not lasted 19 years.
I was going to say it's not lasted, and this is what annoys me about some Chelsea fans, and it's really annoying, as I said, because I do like Younes and I do like a lot of his opinions. But yeah, this is it's not true, because like someone said this on one of Lewis's streams. I think it was brilliant. A lot of Chelsea fans nowadays want microwave results. Like, you just want something that's quick and easy. You shove it in the microwave. Cool, I'm eating that. You don't want to wait for the chef to cook you up a nice meal where he needs the nice ingredients. He can't work. If you give a chef gravy, some beetroot, like some duck that's been in the fridge for like 2 weeks, some old mashed potato, like, he's not making nothing with that. It doesn't matter whether you're Gordon Ramsay, Jamie Oliver, or some dude named Phil. You're not making anything with that. Like, you've got to give him the right ingredients. He might be a terrible chef, but you don't know that until you give him the right ingredients. Right now, he's working with nothing. He's working with scraps that have been left in the fridge for 2 weeks. Like, he's working with nothing. And so many Chelsea fans just want, I'm hungry. I'll stick that meal in the microwave. I don't want to spend half an hour cooking. I just want it in 10 minutes. I'll put that in the microwave and I'll just eat that. Even though it's going to taste like half as good as me cooking a meal and making it myself, like, I'll just go for the microwave thing. Because I just don't understand, because this happens at all clubs. Like, people can talk about City, but City were building the Pep project way before Pep got in. Like, they were building it when Mancini was there. Like, even if you want to take City out of it, go and look at Liverpool. Like, remember when they were celebrating results at draws against West Brom and people mocked them, and they were losing Europa League finals to Sevilla, and then they went on to win the Champions League and the league back to back. Like, this is the thing, is people aren't willing to wait, and they had to get rid of a lot. They had to get rid of a lot of dross, and they had to go through a lot of crap with Klopp in charge. But it was worth it, like, because they won the league and they challenged City, and they actually looked like a massive club in terms of performing, like, week on week. And people just don't want to wait for that now. And I don't understand why, because, like, what is the plan here? Because we still weren't winning shit under Abramovich. We were still, like, haven't won anything since Conte. Like, what's the expectation here? As M3 says, fans have got unrealistic expectations. What is the expectation here? Like what are you expecting? To us to go and find, Zidane tomorrow and him to win the league? Because that ain't happening. And Zidane doesn't expect that to happen. Like, because Zidane's going to want to buy his own players, and Zidane's going to want to have things his way, because he wanted that at Real Madrid. That's why he left the first time. Yeah. Enrique is going to be the same. Or whoever you get in is going to be the same. Look, what's the expectation here? What do you want? Because you're not getting instant results. It doesn't work that way anymore. Hasn't worked that way for years. We haven't got the team for that. We haven't got the infrastructure for that. That doesn't work. Like, I don't understand. I just don't understand what the logic is here. It's going to have to wait. Like, you're going to have to wait. Things don't happen instantly.
And to be honest, like, the project for Arsenal didn't really start until Arteta came in. Like, it was Arsenal were trying to do, in a sense, kind of what we were doing. at Chelsea, but not succeeding at it. And the amount of times, like, what they sacked Arsene Wenger, then they had Emery, and then who else did they have in that cycle of managers?
It was Emery.
Right?
It was Emery. Yeah. It was Emery to Arteta.
Yeah. So it's like they weren't. I don't know. They just. I just know that this wasn't a 19-year process. Yeah, it was 19 years of a lot of those 19 years were a bunch of mistakes that they were making, and maybe keeping some managers for longer than they needed to be there. But
a lot of the mistakes they made were involved Arsene Wenger. Like, who's to say if they don't get rid of him quicker, they don't win something earlier? Like, we don't know, because a lot of the mistakes they made in terms of building the squad and in terms of the on-pitch decisions, they left to Wenger because they had trust in him and he got a lot of things wrong. Arsenal fans say that. Go and speak to some Arsenal fans. They say that. Like, they say for as good as as amazing as he is like in terms of their history, he got a lot of things wrong in the later years. A lot of things wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just said that's the thing. And with the Arsenal thing as well, it's a comparable thing because they had to do with what we're doing in terms of they had a bunch of terrible players. They had a good few pieces, but a bunch of terrible players, had a lot of holes in certain areas. They needed to tear it all down. They got rid of a bunch of players, started releasing like hella people. You know, Ozil terminate contract, gone. Kolasinac gone. Who else? Aubameyang gone. Lacazette gone. That's this season. Like, who else? Mustafi gone. Bellerin gone. Who else did you have going? I'm trying to think of
the goalkeeper.
Socrates
gone. Leno gone. Like, it's just if you work gone. Like, and this is the thing, and this is an Arsenal team that don't spend, and very rarely up until recently do they like go for massive squad overhauls. But now they've got the infrastructure and they've got the trust in Arteta that they're doing it.
It's a lot easier to put it like this. You know, you say, player X, player Y, player Z's gone. I'll put it in a simpler term. The only remnant of that former era, Emery, Wenger, is Xhaka in the first 11. He's the only one. Look at everyone else. That's all Arteta. All of it.
Yeah.
That's 10 players.
I was going to say that's true. Like, I was going to say you had Saka who came through under Emery, but yeah, you'd say he was molded under Arteta.
Yeah.
You've then got, literally everyone else. And as you said, like
10 players
with Xhaka as well, because I mentioned this on one of Lewis's streams. I can't remember if it was today or a different day. Like, the thing with Xhaka was when he was under Emery and under Wenger, like, there was so many things wrong with him as a player. There still are to a certain extent. Like, he's a bit too aggressive, but he's been able to change the way he is and tone a lot of things down. He's not as aggressive as he used to be, or he's smarter with it. He's a lot more like a leader now than he was before. And that's the thing is, Arteta's managed to find the best out of him. Yeah, they need to improve on him, but he's still a good piece for what they're doing right now. And that's the thing. It's like Potter could do that with one of our players. He could do that with I don't know off the top of my head.
Lewis Hall.
Maybe not that. I'm thinking maybe like he could do that with maybe he does that with like a Pulisic, for example. Like if you look at Pulisic right now, maybe the attitude isn't there, and there's certain things he's not doing, and he should be doing more of this. Potter could turn it around for him. Like, he could be the one that he focuses Pulisic and focuses the attitude better. So, the attitude is more focused on the pitch stuff. He's doing the certain things we want to see, like he's beating more players, or he's trying a few more things in terms of the right things. Like, he could do that, but we don't know again because it's 4 months and we're judging him too early. It's way too early.
I wonder if this was what it was like to be Arteta in when he was just starting off. Who knows? Let's continue this video.
There's levels of demand. You respect that because there's a standard. Chelsea of yesteryear used to be that team where you don't really expect, but we got ourselves up to a level and we need to try and maintain that. And the worst thing you can do is just accept going down. You have to fight. You have to, and if you fight and you give everything and you demand and you see a project, you see a work, you see something good going on, and you're just beaten by the better team, it happens. That's normal. But to just see yourself plummet in free fall, we are going down in free fall here, and people just go, "Oh, don't worry, we'll be fine. We'll focus on next season." Come on. It's not everyone that's this bad. It's not. And Tuchel proved that after Lampard got sacked. It's not everyone that's really bad, but there are bad apples that need to be thrown out of the squad. No. Absolutely, players that are just not at the level. 100%. To blame the entire squad and think everyone needs to get.
Ollie.
My God, no! Like the Champions League, you said it yourself. You know, these players, they hide behind their cups. You know, in these knockout competitions. You know, it's the same old story. Why can't people spot the
We're saying it
patterns
last
here?
season. We're a cup competition. Yeah.
Also,
we're a cup team.
Talk about the Champions League, right? But look at where we are as a team since then. Mount and Havertz have literally not they've literally stagnated since then. They've not improved.
They've regressed. Not
if anything,
stagnated.
they've regressed. You look at what else we've lost. Rudiger and AC no longer here. Mendy, not the same player. His mentality completely gone. You've got Chilwell has had injuries since then. Worse injuries. He's gone. Giroud, as I said, a reliable player that could do a job, and would arguably be our best striker now. Gone.
Jorginho and Silva 2 years older.
I was going to say Kante, more injuries, nowhere near the same player. Kovacic, more injuries, nowhere near the same player. James, more injuries, still the same player, but way more injuries. This is the thing. You can't. The reason you can't talk about the Champions League anymore isn't because of you just can't reminisce about the past. It's because the team is nowhere near the same. It's not you're going from for example, let's just take a player like Mount, for example. He did so well in that Champions League campaign, and he's gone on. He's built on that. He's now done what Saka's done, for example. I know Saka, obviously, they haven't won the Champions League or anything, but he went from being a decent player, could fill in at left back or on the left or in midfield at times, to being, no, he's an important piece. You can see the improvement season on season on season. That it's not that. It's just not that. And it's we've, as Ollie said, we've regressed. Players have regressed, or injuries, or they've stagnated. That's why you can't go back and talk about that. And even with let's talk about Tuchel then. As I said, he failed this season with the same players. He failed. Go and look at his results. We just about beat Leicester, lost to Leeds, should have drawn with West Ham if we weren't saved by VAR. We lost to Southampton, I think. Yeah. Lost to Zagreb. We still failed with these players. Still the same players.
Even the games we won, we made a meal out of that. I remember that Leicester game that Sterling scored in. That was not convincing.
Leicester, West Ham. Where again, we should have lost. Oh, sorry, drew. It should have counted their goal, but we got away with one. But this is the thing, and also honestly, as well, the Potter thing is on the waiting thing. We have to wait because you I'm sorry, the ownership group is not sacking him now. 4 months into a 5-year deal, it's going to cost them roughly 50 mil plus for them to sack him now. They're not just do you know how stupid you'd have to look? For all the talk about BOEHLY, this is a new sport. It is, but he's not new to the world of sport and to the world of business and to the world of running a sports club.
Yeah,
and which manager's going to come to us after we've sacked Potter after giving him a 5-year contract? Which manager's coming to us?
That's worse than Abramovich.
Yeah, that's very true. Actually, that's
no
actually
manager's going to come to us.
That way, yeah.
Well, we're going to try and chat up about we got this project. You told that to 2 people and they were both gone within 6 months. No.
No. No, I'm not saying we wait to the end of the 5th year. I'm saying they might sack him next year, or they might sack him in 2 years. But you can't do it now. If in 2 years, for example, in a year and a half, so he's had about 2 years of his contract, right? We're doing terribly. We've had the new signings. I'm going to be get him out because it's not working, and they probably will because at that point you're 2 years, you're nearly halfway through the kind of quote unquote project with him, and you can see it's not working. You get rid of him. You can't do it now. You just can't do it now, 4 months into the thing. There was something else I was going to say as well. Oh, crap. What was it?
Well, I was just going to mention the fact, too, under Roman, we had managers that didn't want to come into Chelsea just because Chelsea had a reputation of not backing their managers and sacking the managers.
And Roman as well. Everyone talks about, if Roman was here, everyone talks about, if Roman was here, we wouldn't be doing this, he'd be sacked. Do you remember the fact that Roman kept Conte in 6 months longer than he should have done in that season? Yeah. He should have been sacked after Watford, and he kept until the end of the season. He should have been sacked after Watford, after we lost, 4-1. that Bakayoko game, and that was in January, I want to say December or January. You should have sacked him then, and he kept him on to the end of the season. Yes, we won something at the end of the season, but still, like, so Roman became like as well with the Roman thing is like he could have sacked Sarri much earlier. If he listened to the fans, he could have sacked Sarri a lot earlier. Could have sacked Lampard earlier, and he didn't. Like, even if Roman's here, he would not have sacked Potter now. And this is the thing: this whole talk of Potter in or out is dumb right now because he's not going anywhere at all. He doesn't deserve to.
But it's like I said this in the Discord, which, by the way, guys, if you haven't already joined our Discord community, be a part of the Discord community. We are always active on there. You can chat to me. You can sometimes Scott's there, Oliver's there. We're always there to discuss. But it's this kind of stuff. Like, it's us as Chelsea fans. We're insanely spoiled by Roman, and we start to like ignore the bad things of Roman and focus on the bad things of BOEHLY. When under BOEHLY, all right, just look at this on paper. Under BOEHLY, we managed to sign Sterling, Cucurella, Koulibaly, 3 players that before this season we were highly rating and highly raving about. We managed to get rid of Romelu Lukaku. We managed to get rid of how many Deadwood players, guys? Do we know? 11, 12, 13?
Oh, there's so many.
All the Deadwood that we were complaining that Marina constantly kept re-signing, trying to make their money back on. We got rid of so many Deadwood players. We started recruiting talent, right? More youth, very talented youth. We've seen it in glimpses of it with Chukwuemeka. I'm sure things are going to come good with Omari Hutchinson and all these other youth players. And I'm sure I've named a few other things, Oliver, in the Discord. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but there's a lot. We're starting to look into reconstructing and expanding the club. We're starting to put incentives into contracts, which, guess what? That's probably a big reason why Mason Mount hasn't re-signed yet. There's probably some incentives in that contract of his that he doesn't agree with or he sees as unfair, which maybe to us are probably reasonable. Who knows? We won't know until it's done, right? Re-signs Reece James and Chalobah to long-term deals at respectable wages. We overlook all these positive things about BOEHLY, and then we look at the manager appointment, which hasn't gotten enough time to manifest itself and really turn into the project that could be. And we want to say, oh, shit owner, horrible owner, absolutely terrible owner, despite the amount of money that he's putting into the club, which, by the way, I might be talking out of my ass right here, but I think BOEHLY in the past 2 windows has spent more than Roman Abramovich ever spent in one single window.
It's the record Premier League window, the one we just had in the summer. So that's definitely for sure.
He's a shit owner. We have the directors of football
Marshall,
now. We're actually an actual establishment.
Exactly, it goes both ways.
On, guys.
You said people overlook the positives of BOEHLY. They also overlook the negatives of Abramovich. How the last 5 years of Abramovich were awful. They were awful. Like flat out. Mm-hmm. I'm not sugarcoating it. They were awful. No league challenge. With Marina, it was just a one-person show. No structure. Poor signings.
Roman couldn't even come to the country. We have Roman that can actually come to the country. I know, but I'm just saying.
There may be other reasons behind it, but I've said this before and I'll double down on it, especially now. BOEHLY has done more for this football club in terms of like progressing this football club or pushing us on to progress than Abramovich does in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
and it's not entirely Roman Abramovich's fault. I'll say that, but still, things needed to be done. How long are we going to do that under Roman? How long are we going to do that under Roman? How far are we going to fall from grace?
I promise you, Abramovich was lucky he got sanctioned and the club removed from him when it did, because it was going downhill, and people 100%. would have had a very different outlook in say 2025 when it just kept going down as it was on that trajectory.
If Marina and if Abramovich was still in charge, Batshuayi would still be here. So would Alonso. Bakayoko would not be leaving come this summer. Barkley would still be here. You'd probably still actually no. Drinkwater might have left, but I don't know. He might still be. He left on a free. Matt Miazga probably would still be here. Can I just make a point? Baba Rahman, by the way, when he leaves, I think his contract is either up this summer or next summer. When he leaves, he will have been in 9 years.
I know.
And he's played something like 20 games for us.
Yeah.
Because
I want to remind you guys.
Decided to give these guys massive contracts and decide to renew them every year.
Yeah.
Like Kennedy would still be here as well. Like Lukaku would still be here.
Yeah, Marina and Czech.
That's what I was going to say, Scott. Yeah.
That's one of the reasons Marina and Czech left, because they disagreed with BOEHLY and Tuchel over keeping Lukaku.
RHH, are you complaining that we gave Chalobah and Reece James a 6-year contract? Is this what I'm understanding? Because if that's the case, then I don't know what else to tell you, man. I don't know what else to tell you. Don't give our best player a 6-year contract. Oh, and I know he's injury prone, but still, like, come on. Let's continue the video, boys.
Chopped? No. You got to look at the gaffer. Potter looks clueless. He looks like he does not know what to do. The man is in desperate need of a solution. He's in desperate need. You can read it on his face. You can see the body language. You can see it in the players. You can see it in the response. There is no response. There is no system. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. How are people not looking to the manager at this? I don't know. I absolutely don't know. People in the hope of, oh, no, we desperately need a project, so we just got to stick with this guy and just see what happens. No. Get the right guy in, and then we can move in with a project. It's proven after this amount of time that he clearly still does not know what to do. Got to change. Simple. Got to change. Zidane is available now. France have extended the job for Didier Deschamps. He stays till 2026. Zidane is now available. And you know what? He wanted the French team, or he wanted a top-tier club. Are we a top-tier club? Are we actually going to try and remain a top-tier club, or are we going to accept going into freefall? You have to look at some of the others. There's Poch. We're going to accept Poch. I think it'd be better. Would we accept Luis Enrique? Personally, I wouldn't want to go there. I don't think he's good enough. Yes, he done what he done with Barca. That was flipping Barca at their peak. It is what it is. But even then, he's managed egos, he's managed big players, he's got some sort of experience, he's been at the top and kind of knows what's going on. Probably better than Graham Potter. We have to accept that. That's my honest opinion with you guys. Now, and then, after we make that change...
Okay, I mean, we'll get to the end of the video, but this is one thing I had to stop on. Zidane and Poch, Ali, you know how I feel about Poch. No, thank you. I'm okay on Poch. I won't even touch it with a 6-foot pole. I'll social distance from Poch. I'm okay on that. But Zidane, he had all the tools. Did he have all the tools he needed at Madrid? I would argue he did. He had some of the best players, best squad, best income and finances he could to buy any player he wanted. And he still failed at Madrid. Even when Barcelona were struggling.
He failed? That's harsh.
Okay. I don't know if he failed, but he definitely didn't.
Three-peat of the Champions League. I don't think a three-peat of the Champions League can ever be considered failure, and dominance of La Liga at the same time.
Man,
he didn't fail. He had a super team. And that's the only club he's ever managed at. You know, he has no track record.
That's my issue with it. That he had a super team. I think he had Ronaldo for a year, and then he had Benzema for the remainder of that time.
It wasn't just a year. He was there for 2 spells. He did a 3-peat with that legendary team. You know, Benzema, Bale, Ronaldo, Modric, Casemiro, Cruz, Marcelo, Ramos, Varane, Carvajal, all them guys. You know, he did a 3-peat with that team. He had them for years. So this ain't just a 1-year thing. He had them for ages, and he did get the success. But yeah, you know, there just isn't the track record for a project. It's a super team. It's a now, and we just don't have any evidence that he'd be the guy for what we specifically want in terms of long term.
Maybe I shouldn't. You know what? You guys in chat are right, and Oliver, you're right. Maybe I shouldn't say it's a failure, but. Did he meet the expectations that were put on him? I don't think so. Because as a manager, I think once that team left him, once he started losing players in that super team, I think we started seeing how his manager instincts kick in.
I think the thing for me was when he was the one that bought Hazard. Yeah, and I think
it's not really his fault. I'm not gonna.
No. I don't blame. I'm not blaming Hazard being a dud on. I'm not blaming that on Zidane. But I remember when when we played Real Madrid that season the season after under Tuchel, and he started Hazard, I think in the game at Stamford Bridge. He didn't deserve to start, nowhere near. But Zidane liked Hazard. Hazard idolized Zidane. There was a bias there going both ways. And Hazard wasn't very good when he played against us at Stamford Bridge. So, and the Madrid fans at the time were certainly getting on his back. Hazard does not deserve to start for this club. Why are you doing this? We're now out of the Champions League because we're playing with 10 men.
Yeah. See, with me, Zidane, it's just one of those things. Like, I don't know how much of the success he had at Madrid was on the team versus him actually as a manager. That's the way I see it.
It's the same argument that people have with Enrique. The only difference is that Enrique has that track record at Roma, at Celta Vigo, of being a disappointment relative to that Barcelona success. Zidane hasn't been anywhere else. So on the one hand, you can't really talk, but on the other hand, look at that team.
Yeah, and at least of all those three that were mentioned, Poch, Zidane, and Enrique, I actually would favor Enrique because from what I can see, what he did at Spain, it looks like he was building a project. It looked like Spain was going in a certain direction. There was some type of something happening, some system going on where it was kind of working for Spain, and they were missing some key parts, elements like attack. I think Luis Enrique would be a good manager to take on a project. Whether he's going to win everything, I don't know. That's for us to see what happens in the future. He certainly is my favorite if Potter were to get sacked. Poch, I just saw him fail at a PSG when he had a Messi, Mbappe, and a Neymar in that team. And by fail, I mean he lost the league in his first season. And look, I don't really rate the league like that as super competitive. I know it's a great league when it comes to getting players from. But when it comes to the French league, it's usually PSG that wins it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think player for player, Lyon had a better team than PSG that season.
That was Lille.
Great punch. Lille. I'm sorry. Again, I'm confused all the time. I'm sorry. Lille.
I can't lie. I did catch kind of the end of that. I just had to go out quickly for a couple of minutes. But yeah, I caught the end of that. But it just cracks me up again, like with the managers that he mentioned, where it's like, number one, Poch. Like, if you want Poch in considering the current situation we're in, you're a hypocrite. Because I'll go back to the same argument that people use. What's his CV? He took a Southampton team, like, made them good, made them look okay, like, made them better than they were. Cool. Went to Tottenham, 1-0, made them a top 4 team. Cool. Well done. Went to PSG and underwhelmed. Managed to somehow make PSG look worse than they do now under Christophe Gaultier. Like, cool. So what's the CV? You won a Coupe de France. And a league title.
The Champions League.
Won the league title last
year as well.
And a league title that you scraped to win. A league title that you scraped to win with Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe. Cool. Brilliant. That's his CV. Then we go to Enrique, and I've already explained about Enrique. Like, Enrique's a good manager, but I don't know what you're expecting him to do with these players. Like, he's not going to do any better. Oh, we might go from 10th to 7th. Cool. Brilliant. We get Conference League football instead of no Europe. Sweet. Then you look at Zidane, and it's like, again, like with Zidane, number one, he's going to demand full control because he did it at Real Madrid. He demanded full control over what players like he could play, what he could do with the players, everything. When he got told no, he walked. When he got told no, you can't do what you want with players like Bale and others, he walked. Said no, bye. And then yeah, he did really well in terms of the Champions League. And I will not knock him for that because he's only the second. I don't know about manager, but he like that Real Madrid team is only the second ever team to do that in Champions League history. Or no, in Champions League history, they're the first. In the whole history, in terms of when it was the European Cup, I think it was they're only the second team to do that. But at the same time, like, he's not going to have that level of player. Like, and also as well, I go back to if you sack Potter now and go to Zidane and go, do you want to join? He's going to look at him and go, You just sacked a guy that you gave a 5-year contract to put your faith in after 4 months. So what happens when I don't hit the targets you want with this team? You're going to sack me in 4 months. Like, he's going to look at you and go, no, I'm good. I'll wait for a job where the like I know the owners are going to back me for a few years and not sack me after 4 months because like the fan base don't think that I'm good. Like, this is the thing is that all these managers that people keep talking about, it's either the same as what we've already got, or they're just going to look at this and go, no, because why would I join now? You're a mess of a club as is, in terms of on the pitch and in terms of the playing staff, not necessarily backroom, because I think the backroom is looking quite good. But in terms of playing staff, you're a mess. You're an absolute mess. And the ownership group doesn't seem to know what they're doing if they want to sack a guy they had in charge for like 4 months. Like, this doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry.
Does Zidane even speak a word of English?
I think he does.
A little bit, probably.
I swear I heard Man United fans back when they sacked Ole and they were thinking Zidane. They were like, "Oh, I swear I heard he doesn't speak English." Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but that could be a problem if so.
Gotta get to the finish line here.
That's when I look to some of these players and I think you've got to go, you've got to go, you've got to go, you've got to go, you've got to go. At that point, I think we can start the cleanup. But to start the cleanup with the manager that doesn't know what's going on or doesn't know what to do, and then pay the price later because later on you get forced to sack that guy, and then you have to restart your process. No. It's clearly not working now. Get someone else in and restart this process now. And then we can start talking about players going, getting some other lads in, work with this new recruitment team that we've got because apparently they know what they're doing. So let's go down that route. That's my honest opinion. Let me know down below what you thought, because today it was an absolute disgrace. Bit of a long video today, but it had to be said.
Yeah, overall, like, this is, and look, this is tinfoil hat Marshall speaking right now. I think these takes are coming a lot from the fact that he's back on Twitter. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna not say that. I think a lot of these takes are coming from the fact that he's back on Twitter, because for a long time I found it very difficult to disagree with Younes on a lot of things, and this is one of them. I'm like, I can't believe he's even saying Mason Mount out for that, despite how bad he is. It's just there's a lot here that we dissected. Bit of a long stream ourselves here, actually, I'm not gonna lie, but there was a lot to talk about and a lot of good points that were pointed out that I didn't even take into consideration as well. The fact that if we do manage to sack Potter now, how bad it would look for the next manager, to how it wouldn't entice anyone to come to this club. So I don't know if you guys have any final thoughts or anything you want to touch on as well now that we're here.
I just think the Potter out stuff is pointless talking about until at best the summer. Like, at best.
Yeah.
Like, he's not getting sacked this season. He's not. Not unless we get relegated. It's not happening. Like, you can dream about it as much as you want. It's not happening.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's just not. I think you just got to see what happens with, like, the rest of the window. And come the summer, what the plan is with some of these players that are ending on their contracts. And yeah, like, I still have faith in the whole club moving forward. In terms, as I said, the going on behind the scenes,
the backroom staff and all that.
Yeah, like upstairs, even with some of the backroom staff in terms of the guys that came in with Potter. I understand it's not going well right now, but it's like, I understand that it looks bad right now. We're 1 win in 10. I understand how bad it looks, but at the same time, I do have faith that if the right things happen with certain players and with the club, that things can get better and things will go well. But yeah, I just think, like, saying that he needs to be sacked now is wrong. Like, completely wrong. Also, as well, with the rebuild, you don't sack the manager first and then get the players in. Like, it doesn't work that way. You get players in that are going to suit different managers of a similar style. That's how you work this. That's what you do, so that when you go from a Potter to a guy who's slightly better but the same system, it's a seamless transition. It's not a Conte to Sarri. Like,
yeah. And also, too, like, it's kind of hypocritical because we were just complaining about how Tuchel got sacked after getting a proper backing and getting his players in, a week after, or the week that the transfer window closed. We're not even giving this guy a whole transfer window where we're just saying he should get sacked. So it's just unfair in that sense. It's very hypocritical. Ali, did you want to add anything to this before we close out the stream?
No, I think that's all very well put. You know, this season's going to be hell. Let's just hope that that's the end of the day. You know, look at the squad, and you know, just accept it. You know, these players have given up, so why should you hold any hope? Just you know, be fair with Potter. You know, give him some leeway, but also criticize him when it's due. And let's have some windows and let's see where we are. Like Scott said, I think September is a very fair time. He's had a year by that point. You know, give him till September. Let's see what some of the new signings do, and then we can have a fair assessment.
Yeah, I mean, welcome to hell. This is Chelsea Football Club right now. So we'll see what happens. I really think, hopefully with this video, maybe some of you guys have decided maybe there's some good points here, and we can give Potter a little bit more time than we can be a little more patient with Potter than we have been. Which I get it, guys. It's not fun losing, but at the same time, I'm looking forward to what the project could be, and I know what Potter has done for Brighton, and I'm hoping he translates it to Chelsea. And look, I know Scott said it earlier. Look at where Brighton was in the beginning when Potter came into the club. It wasn't all peaches and cream back then either. So, but guys, thank you so much for watching. We hit over 56 likes. I appreciate that. Make sure if you haven't already, smash that like button. We hit the 1,500 subscriber mark. We're way past it. Thank you so much, guys, for letting us get to 1,500 subscribers. That's a round of applause for you guys in the chat for letting us get to 1,500 subscribers. So we appreciate it, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed our criticism. And if you haven't, let us know in the comments why, what we got wrong and where you disagree and your opinions on this whole entire thing. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. It was a good conversation to have. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you, Scott, for being on the panel. And guys, we'll be back tomorrow for the Casually Chelsea show. For those of you who are new, that's where we talk about the Chelsea transfer news and all the stuff that's been happening in the latest week. And then we're back Thursday again to review the match as well. So, guys, stay tuned. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe so you don't miss out on our videos, bell notification as well so you're notified when we do streams like this. Check out the links in the description, join our Discord, and check out the other content creators that we have on there. Leave a comment down below, and we'll catch you again tomorrow for some Casually Chelsea show. Until then, peace out and stay casual. Peace.